start with consoles and administrative interfaces today. So
Okay.
basically, this consoles is something like which UI we will be using to handle different configurations which we need to do, right? Or if not only configurations, to set up items for your site to work. For all that, we need a console, right? So those consoles is what we'll be seeing today. So I'll be introducing all the consoles where what you can do. So just get familiarized with almost all consoles because that's very important for you. Okay, after this, we will just do the development approach. Yeah. Mm, okay. So now, starting with your first console is your sites console. So I won't get into classic UI because classic UI is something which is going off by probably in a next few versions it will be removed. It will no more be available for you to use because Adobe will not be supporting. So that's why they've been telling this from quite some time that we need to move to Touch UI. So I'll be showing you the Touch UI items itself. So once you log in, once you start your server, right, it comes up over here as a pop-up. And when you click on this link, or it automatically comes in one of your default browsers. So you need to key in your admin, or any of your user credentials. So once you key in that, this first start page comes up.
Okay.
This start page may say you have so many items available on this area if you see. So when you click on this uh, icon on the top left, right? That gives you the same console, whatever comes in as AM Start Home. So if you have navigated elsewhere, like if on deeper into some other area, still want to go back to that start wala icon, so you can just click on this top left corner AM logo icon that comes to the default page. So from here, you can navigate everywhere. So projects is one console which probably you don't have to know at all because it is never used until now. So by default, you can see what projects are there in your server. So this is hardly used by any one of us. Until now, it is just V-Retail which is present here. So you have to create a project and all that, which we never do. So you don't have to worry on this projects at all. This is going to be deprecated. So the important thing which next one comes to you is sites. So sites, I'm sure you would have already used it in a elaborate way from quite
Yeah.
some. So here is where you'll be creating all your pages, which will be used by your website. So you need to create a page from here. So once you navigate to sites, look at the URL. The URL is all changing. So if you keep seeing the URL of this Touch UI site, right, it all uses this concept of URL decomposition here as well. If you see, until your localhost 4502 sites.html is your URL, post which is your selectors which comes in a picture. So Adobe uses URL REST principles to handle the URL decomposition, right? So this is the best example which you can actually use.
Which principle?
Huh?
Adobe, you would said na that Adobe uses some principle. Can you
Principles,
please
yeah,
repeat it?
yeah, REST principles,
Okay,
REST.
yeah, REST principle. Huh.
So that principles is what which defines the URL, right? So based on the URL, it kind of it gets renders the content. So that is what is defined over here. We'll go into this how it actually maps to each one of it in the upcoming classes. But this was just the highlight which I mentioned. So from here, you will be creating the pages. You can create pages using all this button. You can select all by using all of this. So wherever this blue icon kind of thing is kind of highlighted, right? The option from here, all the child pages will be pointed by this select all icon. So you might have to click on this checkbox. So when you click on the left extreme icon, checkbox appears. Here is when you can actually manage the page level items individually. If you just click on this item, the checkbox goes away, but none of the specific page properties or page level items you will not be able to manage. So in order to manage page level items specifically, you need to click on this icon which highlights the checkbox. That's when this appears to you. So you can choose, if you would want to create a page. For now, if you want to create, it would create a page under Informatica CXT. Why? Because this is where the blue icon is highlighted. When I click on create, I get various options: page, site, live copy, launch, language copy, CSV report, all of this. So your
Okay.
important items which comes in a picture here is your page. Your site will hardly be used because the first level page is already created by your MPN project. So you will never be using to create a site. So the page and your live copies and your language copies will actually be used most of the times. So language copy comes in a picture only when you have multiple languages maintained by one of your sites. So that also mostly they'll be handling using via the workflows automation. They will not be doing it via this sites console at all. It's very rare that this is done. So major thing which comes in a picture on a daily basis, which you will be using. Until now, I've probably used in all the projects. I am so, but I've never used this language copy until now because it's my workflows which is actually used to create the language copies directly. So if you see, the important things which comes in a picture from here is page and the live copy. These are the two options which you should keep in mind where it comes in. So we'll see during content authoring what are these items. So for now, I'll just move ahead. So do you have any questions here?
No.
Okay. So here is where you will be creating the pages, and on the individual page level basis, you get to see certain properties. So what are those properties? If you would still want to create a page under this particular page, you still have that option. So again, same options which you saw there, but with extra items, extra options over here, that is your workflow. So if you would want to trigger a workflow from here, or if you would want to create a version of a page, all that thing comes in a picture over here.
Okay.
So again, I'll not be using most of this item here because all of them are automated via my workflows and the launchers which will be used. So you don't have to worry much on that. So first is your create, second is your edit. So edit is nothing but if you would want to open that page and then if you would want to actually
Edit that page.
edit that page, yeah. So adding components, or if you would want to edit some content in each of the already added components, all that comes in a picture when you click on edit. It opens up the page over this. So it opens up with this editor.html in the URL, which is kind of which is defining that it is a touch UI. So by default from 6.0, it opens up in editor.html. So you can customize to open it in CF hash mode itself. So in my project, there are certain pages which need CF hash. That's why by default that has been configured for my server level. So that's why. So don't go. Don't just get confused what you searches. Okay, switching of the modes. So that is here. So then you also can see properties. So it's the same properties which you see when you click on this one, right? When you open the page, from the page you get to see certain items, right? Open properties. So that page properties. It's the same thing. So whatever you see from your page properties, it's the same properties which you get to see from here. This is the properties item. Then if you would want to log the page, that's because you don't want it to be edited by anybody else. That just because you are editing some item. So it's a best practice whenever you are. As a content author, you would already know. So
Yeah.
whenever you are editing a page, you need to log the page. Once you're done with it, you need to release the log. So the same person with the access, to log the page and unlock the page can do it. Nobody else with lesser permissions can handle this. So this is all permission related. The appearance of lock and releasing the lock is all based on your permissions. So locking the page, then comes your copy. So if you would want to copy this page and paste it somewhere else, because if you want the exact replica of the same page, you can actually copy from here. If you would want to move, so move actually is a key thing which is mostly used by a content author specifically.
Yeah.
Like you would have created a page by mistake, you will have some other title, or you would have created this page in a wrong path. So when you would want to move that, all the references wherever you have been referencing this page, like in other page dialogues, a path field, you might be using this page to point to that particular link or somewhere, right? So that automatically gets updated when you use this move option. But if you do a manual move, that is by renaming the page directly over your CRXE, that wouldn't happen. So that's why any time you would want to alter anything related to page URL, it's always suggested that you need to actually move. You cannot directly copy paste from your CRXE. So when you move, all the references of this particular item will also be automatically updated accordingly. So now I click the move, I can give the page name after the move. So page name defines the URL of that particular page, and page title defines the title which comes on the
Yeah.
bar in this tab. So you can change to whatever you want to. So I'm just giving language master, and as I said, the page name of the move also I'll just give it as language master. So then when you click on next, you can actually show where you want to move it. So if you would have already moved it in the wrong place, you can just choose and say you want to move it under CXP portal. So when you click on next, it actually shows what all items moved based as part of this particular move. Since I'm moving language masters, it's going to move a lot of other items under this particular. And what are the pages where the changes will be updated is also what it is showing here. So once you click on it automatically moves in there by updating the references. I wouldn't do that now because that's the wrong one which I did. So that's how you can see the move property item. Then quick publish is like you can actually do a multi-select to do a quick publish.
Yeah.
So publishing to from your author to publish is what this reference to. So if you would want to publish this page or replicate this page or activate this page, which means the same, you would actually go ahead and do a quick publish from here. So once you do a quick publish, you get a message showing like the publish is kind of done. So sometimes it might be stuck in the replication queue, especially when your publisher is not up or the queue might be stuck sometimes. So that is handled by your administrators. You might not have to worry on that. Okay. Then comes like if you would want to activate this page probably on at a scheduled time. So you can actually go into this manage publication and then you can actually click on it. So if you would want to publish or unpublish, like if you would want to publish a specific newsletter which is available only for a day or any specific link for registering for any of your sessions, right, which is available only for a day, you can
Yeah.
choose that particular item and publish, and then you can choose the date and time as
Date
such
and
whenever you.
time.
So both and time. So automatically that gets published accordingly. So you can all set this to your go live date. And after, if you would want to unpublish a specific page after certain time, you can also schedule for that particular event from here. So both of it is handled by your manage publication option. Then if you would want to delete this particular page, you can go ahead and delete it, but it would show you a pop-up like this is kind of used in most of the places. And do you still want to delete? So if you could do a delete, it will be deleted in all those referential pages as well. So or things might be just broken across. So that's how this is all done. These three options in your sites console. I'm sure you'll be already aware on this.
Yeah.
Any questions on this?
No.
Okay. Now let's go to the next one, that is the assets. So again, I click on this logo item, and here if you see, you have this experience fragments. So experience fragments is something which has been introduced recently. So why this is used? This is the developers who will be handling this, not the content authors as such on during the first time. So for example, like your header and footer, right, needs to be same throughout your site. And it makes no sense to go ahead with using the inheritance iParsers, which was used earlier, because that is that is going to get deprecated soon. It will be removed shortly. So what Adobe guys are suggesting is like instead of iParsers, you can actually use experience fragments over there. So
Okay.
your header and footer is a constant thing which is going to remain the same. Also, if you have some other components which would be same across 2 3 pages, you can create an experience fragment for them. So for that, your developers should give you a template to create. Once they give you an experience fragment template, you can use that and go ahead and create it. So how do you do that? You click on experience fragment, just like how you create a page, right? Just click on create experience fragment. So from here, choose the template, whichever template your developer gives it to you. So on click of this, you can just go to next, give the title of it. It's just the same like a page how you create, right? It's the same thing. So once you create a page, you just click on done. That appears on this one. So after this, I would want
Your
to
voice
come
is
into the
not
comment.
coming.
So to answer this,
Hello.
Is it better now?
No.
Oh, I think that no. Okay, let me try this. Yes, this is the main problem here. Is it better by any chance?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay. So now if you see, I mean, it's just like a page wherever you created. And then once you click on this, you just click on edit and you author that particular component, whichever you want to show on the page, right? Like drag and drop your header component. Once you drag and drop your header component, you author that header component just like how you author in a page. So once you do that on your page, which is there under site, you will drag and drop experience fragment component, which will be given by your developer. Or
Okay.
you can also use out of the box experience fragment developer. I mean, the experience fragment component. So once you drag and drop experience fragment component over there, it when you open the dialog for that, you need to point to the path where you have authored the content for that particular section. So what happens is, let me quickly show that to you. So assume like in this page you dragged and dropped header and you have authored that here. The options are not coming in because I don't have any components and template as such here. So when you click on this sites, on my language page, I would want my header configured, right? So now that my header is already part of experience fragments, so what I do, I go and drag and drop the experience fragment component on the header. So out of the box, you have experience fragment component available, which you can actually use here. So if you see, here is my header component, which I've already dragged and dropped using iParsers, I guess. So I think I'm not allowed that component here. So I need to go to the template policies. I'll come back later on that because it's too much of editing right now. So you just like how you've dragged and dropped header component, right? You will just drag and drop the experience fragment component, which is available in the general component group. Once you
Okay.
drag and drop that, you get a dialog box wherein only a part of it will, only part of it will be shown to you. So in the
Again, your
path
voice is
browser,
broke.
you need to choose the path of the experience fragment page.
Your voice
So
is not coming.
is it any time better now?
Yeah, now
Hello?
it's better. Now it's better. I don't know
Uh,
what went wrong in between.
no, the connection is very unstable here, as I mentioned
Okay.
sometime
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So yeah, so there you get a path browser which comes in. So you need to provide the path of the header component where you've authored in the experience fragment. That ways it will
Okay.
actually pick. So that's how you do header and footer. So this will be designed by your architects as such. Most of them will go in different ways, the way they want things to be.
So
So it's,
basically, sorry
hmm,
for interruption. So basically, we need to first go into the experience fragments, and there we need to create the header and footer, and then
yes.
we need to fetch it on the page, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So that's what you'll be doing. You'll have to reference it. So if you have any other component like hero component, which will be same in all the landing pages, which are like
Yeah.
around 10 landing pages. So and if the content is same, like same banner and same details are shown, then you will
Then
go
we
and
need to create in experience fragments, and then we just have to drag and drop the hero banner and any other components, right?
yes, yeah, that's it. So that has to be enabled by the developers also. So
Yeah.
this experience fragments can be used only when you have the template using the editable templates. If you are using native old template structure, it
Okay.
wouldn't work. You should use your editable templates itself. So that's why I was saying, I mean, most of them have moved ahead with editable templates. Nobody is using native templates anymore because from 6.2 version itself, the editable templates came in a picture. So people have started migrating to that. So it should be you guys. So it all depends on the architecture or the architecture, the way your project is designed. To use experience fragments or not, you can just check with one of your developers of that particular project. Okay. So then comes any questions here?
No.
Okay. Then comes your assets. Assets, I'm sure you will already be pretty familiarized with this.
Yeah.
You're inside the files. I won't see the other options because other options are hardly used for me. So I'll give you the items only which are actually used. The other items are hardly used by anyone of us, so I won't go into it. Inside your assets files is where you will actually add all your images, your assets, any assets related to your project. So you will have to create a separate folder structure over here. So you can create a folder over here. Click on create folder, and then you can actually set up something over here. So give a project, give a title for it. And then once you give a title, from here you can actually upload any contents over here from your local machines. So you can just choose to upload any of the PDF files or documents or something. So all of which will be pushed here. So once you push it here, then you actually move ahead and once you, then you can actually use those items to use it inside your project. So in the Path browsers, you can point out to that particular image or a PDF or the way you want things to be. So if you would want to, I mean, if you have gone well ahead, right? If you would want to move to this option over here, it gives you the events. So inside this, okay, this also has one. This is an image which they've uploaded, and this image you can actually use it on your pages. So for this image, you have certain options which you can actually use. Same like how you had the options for your page. One is quick publish and manage publications will remain the same. Move also will remain the same. Annotate if you want to annotate something so that it appears for the content authors to see. All that, just like tagging comments kind of thing. This is hardly used anyways. So if you would want to edit would actually take you to the edit properties of your image, which is nothing but your, I mean, you should not edit the image from here, cropping or rotating and all that. That's a very bad idea. It's always preferred that you upload the right size image by editing using Photoshop or something. So images you will be getting it from the front end team, that is the UI team, the people who give you the HTML and CSS.
Yeah.
So that was for your edit. Okay, yeah, properties is where you can edit the metadata properties of each of your image. So here is where the title of the image, the description of the image, if you would want to tag this image anywhere, all that comes into picture over here in the properties. So then if you would want to download, it downloads as a zip file. Any asset downloads as a zip file. Checkout, I don't know, I've never used it. And if you would want to share the link to somebody, you can actually share link and give the link of the particular image whichever you have uploaded. So those are the options which comes in for your images. So here you have option to again create a folder and files. You can do a bulk upload of images by clicking multiple items and not from here though. When you don't have anything uploaded, right, you get that option for uploading images. You see here, yeah, from here you can actually do a bulk upload of anything. So you can again add a few more items. Why is that option not coming? Is wrong. You get one option again. So from there you can actually add multiple images and then upload. Not sure why that is not coming in here. Anyways, so that's how you actually handle your assets. So any questions on assets?
No.
Okay.
These things. Actually, I've done now, so
Yeah, that's why I'm moving ahead a bit faster. So forms is something which we won't be using because this is a separate licensed tool for AEM, and we don't have any licenses as such. Screens is actually again related to probably which mobile devices you would want to configure and all that. So this also I would not go into because I've never used any of these items. Personalization is mostly again using Adobe Target and stuff. Again, is
yeah.
a separate licensed tool, so you won't be going in here. Commerce is again wherein you have your Magento integrated here or any other e-commerce like
Product.
Pinterest.
It is for product section. No?
Product section, yes. So again, we don't have any products introduced, which will be a separate license. So I
I
would
have
go in.
used these section personalization and commerce. So
Okay. Then should be. I mean, I think you would need some items available, otherwise, without which these
yeah,
configurations.
yeah. Otherwise,
I mean, yeah. And then communities is again specific to your ASRP and DSRP, I mean, which is your community application for which you need a separate licensing tool for you to go ahead and configure these, just like where you use this blogs and comments, right? For
okay,
that section is what they're actually using. But Adobe themselves say the Adobe communities is not so great. So they ask you to move ahead with any other community applications if it's already available. But by default, if they want to, they can go ahead and buy this license.
okay.
So here on this, you need to focus on only these three items mostly. These other items are all specified with the projects and the way they have bought the licenses for to use the items over there.
One thing, Purnima, I want to ask. It's a general question, not related to this. Uh, like, uh, there is so many things Adobe developers have already done in this, right?
Hmm.
And after that, the work, what is left, that we content author used
Hmm.
to create the websites and all. Then
Hmm.
uh, what kind of work the other developers in the other AEM developers which we can hire for them, what kind of work they do in this uh,
You mean to say your project level developers?
yeah, yeah.
They actually give you these options, right? So they will create this templates for you so that you can actually use that template to create pages. So if you would want to create a page, you get these options, right? These are all not given by your out of the box application. They're all
Okay,
customized by your developers itself. And they give you have certain components which you can drag and drop on the page and you will author those dialogues, right? So
yeah.
those components are all developed by your Adobe develop by your project developers.
Project
So,
developers,
uh,
okay.
you will not be able to use out of the box Adobe provided components everywhere because the look and feel will be totally different. Or you would need additional information which you need to gather from the content authors, like from the dialogue applications, or maybe from API. You would need to add this. So all that logic you need to do on the component level, right? So all that is done
Okay.
by project level developers. Okay. So yeah, these are the items which comes in here. So this from your navigation bar, I mean from your home icon, you get this first one, you get this first pop-up which comes in from this particular navigation bar. So below navigation, you see tools. So from tools, you can actually navigate to other places. So coming back to this one, so we will be seeing CRXD templates and tagging from your tools application. So from your tools have a lot of options over here. First is your general tab. Inside your general tab, you first have your CRXDE. So I'll just open CRXDE. So CRXDE is where you will actually have your CSS, JavaScript shown, HTML shown, and you also have the big structure over here you see, right? All this. So all this is where your content is getting saved as nodes and properties. So let's go deeper into it. So if you see, if you open CRXD, so this is when different I mean, this is a different editor tool which is available for the AM developers to directly edit the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or to create components and templates and stuff. So if you see options are there here, if you see click on create, You can, I mean, just click on this. So you need to choose a specific root node where to create it. So if I'm just going to click on apps, now it gives me certain options. So create file, create folder, template, component, dialog, all this comes in a picture. Okay. So I'll just show you the structure where what is. Using this editor, we'll do it when we are doing the hands-on.
Okay.
So the first is the root level, slash is the root. So under slash you have apps. So apps is where you will have your customized code written. So like if your project specific items are getting built, all those things comes under apps. So under apps, there will be a folder with whatever name your project is. So I have my Informatica CXP as one of my project. So inside this project, I'll create a certain structure. So the structure components, I'll go into it when we are doing hands-on. So here is where all my custom code comes in a picture. So whatever I develop, I will put it under slash apps.
Yeah, cliently, there's
Client components, my configurations which has to go into the run mode, different run modes, all that comes under slash apps. Then comes a slash bin. So slash bin, you don't have to worry much on this. Earlier, bin was used for a few items like just to expose your servlets and stuffs, but no more your path-based servlets are used, your resource-based servlets are used. So bin is something which you can ignore because this is going to come in for the administration level guys to handle certain things. So from the CRX front, you won't be able to see anything under bin. But if you open from the side, from the Linux side, you will be able to see certain items under bin, which is so specific for the admin guys. So you don't have to worry on this bin. So Conf is the new folder structure which has been introduced by your Adobe guys since like template editor was introduced. So this is the main key thing. So all your templates are getting created under Conf. Your workflows are also moved under Conf going forward.
okay.
So you see your templates and your workflows are under Conf now. Then comes your content. Content is where whatever you create under your sites right over here. If you see, you have the
Yeah,
site. So whatever you see, it's all you. The URL is shown for you here.
slash content.
Slash content slash yeah. So here is under slash content is where all the items on under this particular console goes into. So all your pages will reside under slash content directly, and all your assets goes and sits under slash content dam,
Okay.
whatever is there under files. So if you see content dam is where all your assets, that is your images, whatever you upload, right? Images, and then comes yes, and then you also have your experience fragments right here, which I showed it to you. So that again, if you see the structure of that, it is again under content experience fragments as such separately. If you see, this is the one. So anything after .html will give you the path of that particular item in the CRXDE. So if you see content experience fragments is where it's here. So here content experience fragments. Here this is the one which I created. So that comes in here.
Okay.
So that is what is here. Oh my god, there's so much of noise on here.
Something background noise is coming.
Yeah. And let's go back to CRXD again. So from tools general, CRXD is where I'll navigate to. So yes, for content experience fragments is where my items are present. So under contents, I have my assets, my which is nothing but my DAM assets. So all the DAM assets, my pages, and my experience fragments are residing over here. I also have CQ tags. So earlier CQ tags were present under slash etc just like workflows were, but from quite some time, from 6.4 onwards, it's being moved under content itself. So all the
Okay.
tags are also moved under content. So these are the four key things which you need to remember properly. So all your pages, your tags, your experience fragments, and your DAM assets are present under content. But probably if you're still referencing to the older projects, right, if they've not migrated, some of the tags items will still be present under older. I mean, if you said you're using 6.3 version, right? So there probably your tag will still be residing under /etc. They'll soon
Yeah.
they will have to migrate soon to under content with the upgraded version of AEM. So then comes my CRX node. The CRX again is for specific to my package manager. So it is not specific to anything over here. So all the packages which are present under package manager comes in a picture here. So you don't have to worry on this particular node as such because it's not required for us. Then comes etc. So earlier, if you see in the older versions of AEM, that is 5.6 versions and all, the client libraries were present under etc itself. So, but now the client libraries are all moved under apps and but referenced under etc.clientlibs. So it is just a pseudo path which we reference to that is under etc.clientlibs, but it is residing under apps itself. So earlier we used to have it under etc, but no more under etc now. So going forward, etc will be removed altogether. So you don't have to worry much on that. So under etc, what things were present earlier? One is your client libs. Other item is your cloud configurations. Like you have set up Adobe Target for your application. So that configuration will be present somewhere, right? So all that external side of configurations will be present over here under your cloud services or cloud settings, anywhere, any one of these here. Your commerce related, your communities related, all that is present here. And then comes your tags were also present here. So, and then you also have some workflows items over here. So these were the items which are present under etc. But soon this will be migrated to different places based on Adobe's recommendation. So I'm not sure where they'll be moving all the other items. We should wait and see once they give the full documentation. And under home is where you have all your users related information. So under home, you have two key folders. One is your groups folder and the other one is your users folders. So all the groups which are available in AEM is all present as of another folder structure over here under group. And all the users who are available in AEM are all present under users over here. Okay, so they are all under home.
Home food.
Then you have libs. So libs is where the out of the box code, right? Whatever Adobe guys are providing. So all that is going under libs. So we won't be touching anything under libs because you should not directly modify anything under libs. You will have to overlay or override under apps and then do it. Okay.
Yeah. We
Never touch.
can we can copy it from lib folder and then we can
Under
edit it.
yes, and then you can edit it.
Yeah.
That's called overriding or overlaying based on the feature which you would want to choose.
Yeah.
So you also have certain items over here which is already developed by Adobe. That is nothing but your V-Retail. If you see, you have this V-Retail, right?
Yeah.
So this is a sample project which Adobe guys have given you. So V-Retail components, structure, and page. So if you see, this is one of the other pages which is also used. So sometimes you would still find the page component. It depends on where things are. So not only under
Voice is breaking
lips,
again.
even under apps, Adobe guys have still given you certain items which you can actually use. Example, your V-Retail page components which are actually used by your application.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah. It's better now.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So Oak indexes. So Oak index was earlier used for indexing purposes for doing the search within EM, but now this is deprecated, so you don't have to worry anymore. You will not be using Oak indexing for any one of your indexes. They have given you different probably different documentation as such to follow to improve your search items. So no more oak indexing is used. Um, so on this, I won't cover the oak indexing part and all because they're all very advanced topics and it's not related to our training sessions. Then you have this rep and rep policy. These are the key items which is for your slashed level. So this is the permissions which the user have. Only the administration guys, admin guys will be able to see, or people who have permissions to view this folder will be able to see. So this is more or less the item related to your permission level. So you don't have to
Okay.
worry on these three nodes as well. And then system. So system again, system and Sling is where this is important for the administration level guys, infra team, which I mean. So we don't need to worry on this as well. So all the installers which they actually used in order to, I mean, whenever they have installed installed a particular package, if you would want to pause and all that, they would actually use this particular system level level node. So this is again seen on a elaborate way in the Linux server, not on the CRXD. And then TMP folder. So temp folder is like if you would want to create a specific path, right? I mean, like a temporary path as such for anything like saving a data during your execution of the component and then and then deleting it. You can actually use this particular temp folder, but this is rarely used, so I hardly use this. And then where earlier all your client libraries and your HTMLs were getting cached here within CRXDA, but now they have moved it under the bundle level. So this is no more used. I mean, the var folder is no more used for in the upcoming versions. So the main folders which you need to keep in mind is apps, conf, content, etc, home, and libs. So etc also you can move it down the priority because that will be moved out of the tools soon. I don't know when you should know where what things are. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Then comes your search forms. I would not go in this because this is related to your search related application, which is not integrated here. And templates and my tagging is the key ones which is needed for you. So tagging, I'm sure you would have already used tagging, right? So you create tags and then that is used on the page level or your asset.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is where your tagging console comes into picture. So from the this the toolbar icon from general, you click on tagging, it comes up over here. So here you can create a namespace, click on create. So by default for every project, you will be creating a namespace. Once you create a namespace, under that particular namespace
I'm not getting your voice. Hello.
Yes, are you
Yeah.
able to see my?
Yeah. Now it's.
Okay. So under tagging is where you can actually create this particular tags. So if you see the tag path is also seen under slash content slash CQ tags, right? So here
Yeah.
is where you can also refer to the tag path over here. And then you can click on submit. So the tag gets created. So and then you can use this particular tag to tag any of your page or your assets altogether. Okay. So that is where your tagging comes into picture. Any questions on tagging?
No, in fact, I have done the ingested the tagging schema also.
Okay.
It's been long time. So there is
Hmm.
a like a PDX we have used in Sapient for the product e-commerce section. We ingested the PDX and the whole the product detail pages
Hmm.
we appeared in just a minute. So it's just
Okay.
like that we ingested the tagging schema for the tags. It's just like Excel sheet or CSV. So tagging, I know tagging. I have done this earlier.
Great. And then comes your templates. So templates is where your editable templates, you'll be creating the editable templates, right? That's where your templates will reside. So this one I'll talk on this when we do the items on the editable templates session. So I won't go
Okay.
into deeper. So apart from this, yeah, I think we're almost done. Okay, let me quickly finish off all these. Shouldn't be a big item. So under your workflows, you will have all the workflow related applications. So workflows, I have a different section altogether. The last session will be for workflows. So I'll talk about each of this during workflow.
Okay.
And then you under operations is mostly the web console, which we will be using for the development. The rest all items will go under infra team, which I will not be covering. So
Okay.
infra team in the sense the administration guys. So Felix console is your web console is this Sling console where you'll actually handle all the Java related configurations and your bundle related configurations are all present over here.
Okay.
So and okay, let me quickly show that. So inside your OSGI, but this is the key item which comes in. So under your OSGI, you have this particular configuration. So if you click on this configuration, here is where you land config manager. So there is a way wherein in your Java code you can actually create a configuration and you can provide input for that. So all the inputs are again kind of a dialog thing pop-ups. This is the dialog which comes in, wherein you will have to key in the values if you would want to change. So this will be server level configurations. It will not be your component specific configuration. Like this entire in the entire server for a
Yeah.
specific value, this will be the same. So like your WCM editor touch URL slash editor is always the same. It wouldn't change no matter what. Okay, in the entire server. So these are all server level configurations which would remain as a constant for that particular application. Goes into this config manager. Then if you would want to see bundles under OSGI, you can just click on bundles. So here is where all the bundles are residing. So if you can just sort the bundles based on your IDs or your names. You just click on this arrow and it gets sorted automatically. So you can see the status as well. So it will be in the active state. So if it is not active, it can be in the installed state. So when it is in installed state, you can actually open and see what is wrong. It highlights in red and shows that this is the dependency resolution, which it's not able to find. So that's where you can see the bundle status. So if you click on this stop button, so for that bundle, you can stop it. If you would want to delete that bundle, you can actually delete that bundle as well. So if you would want to, let me show that to you. So now it's in the resolve state. If I just click on the play button, it goes into the active state.
Okay.
So this is how you can actually stop the bundle and put it in the active state. You can delete the bundle. All that operations is done using these
What's the
options which are
meaning
present.
of resolved state?
So resolve state is like all the dependencies are all fine, just that you have manually or by mistake or it has not, it's not in the active state. So
Okay.
anytime
Okay.
you just click on the play button, it goes into the active state. But if it is in the installed state, it says that it is installed, but there are few dependencies which needs to be resolved for your bundle to be in the active state. Like there are few dependencies which you have not uploaded here, and that's why it is not functioning. So when it is in the installed state, it means that it is in non-functional level. You need to resolve the dependencies. Resolve state is like it can be functional only when you activate it.
Okay.
Okay. So these things come, I mean, is automatically handled when you actually deploy your project. So you don't have to worry. It is mostly this console, right, is mostly handled by your administration level guys. So the only thing which you need to see, you need to focus is on the config manager and the bundles, which is very important. And of course, the log service. So logging, I have a separate session altogether for logging. In that, we'll be seeing the log services. Restall is mostly not required for us right now.
So basically, this console is used for, like, we created any projects in Java code, and then we have to deploy it in AEM. So,
Yes,
for that we will be using this console.
yes. For that, you'll be using this console. In order to
Okay.
upload your Java code as a bundle, you would have created that. So that bundle is going to be uploaded here, and that is where it will be used across your whole project.
Okay.
Okay. And then comes my deployment. So yeah, so I would not go into the sites, assets are all the same, resources are not required, mostly used by, all these are used by your admin level guys, so we don't have to worry on that. Then comes your deployment. So inside your deployment, you were able to see this replication, right? And you were able to replicate. So this is again used by your administration level guys. So activation tree, agents unpublished, agents unauthor, these are all set up by your team who actually sets up the server. So we don't have to worry on this. So only thing which you need to know is this activate tree. So if you would want to bulk activate a particular item, so
Yeah, yeah.
most people have access to this one because they will never give you access to
Yeah,
activate.
I have done this also.
Yeah, it's very rare that they give you access, but they
Yeah.
don't give you access. They will actually ask you to activate from the page level or the image level. So you
Yeah.
can actually bulk activate the items from here. And then comes my packages. Packages is where you, I mean, once you build your particular project, your HTML, your CSS from your editor like your IntelliJ or your Eclipse, you need to deploy it to this server. So that can be done over here. So all the package, I'm sure you would know this also, right?
Yeah,
Or
but
you
I
would,
haven't worked on this, but I know little bit. You
uh,
can, yeah.
so yes, probably a session where I'll do the content authoring session, right? That
Hmm.
session I'll just explore more on this. So when you click on upload package, you can actually upload a zip file. So all this I'll just let you know during that time, not right now.
Okay.
So package manager is where you actually install the packages into the server. So then comes your security. Security is managing the users and groups and their permissions. So that is again the admin level task. So if you would want to create any user, like for your dev users, you just click on create, and then you just key in the ID and password and give all the details of that particular user, and then you create that user. And if you would want to create a group, so you just go to groups and then create a group, and group ID and group name as such. And then you can also start adding members here. So you can add admin guide once you create a group. So all that group handling and user creation is not our task. It goes into the admin bucket. So just on a high level, where users are created, where groups are created is what you need to know. And
Okay.
then permissions again is again the admin level guys who will handle it. So for each individual group level, permissions are all given over here. If you see, this is where it is. So if you would want to, I'll filter. Uh, So I have authors group. So for this, if we would want to edit something or so this is on an individual level. So this is very, kind of too difficult for us to handle from here. So people tend to use the CF hash, the user admin, which is there on the classic UI mode. That is used mostly to give the permissions. They don't use this level because you need to know each and every node under
Yeah.
where it is. They usually don't see this level. part. So they will handle that level CRQI mode. Let me show that to you quickly. So under this is where you can actually choose the group, go into the permissions and give permissions accordingly. Read, modify. You just check the check and not simply shown. Sometimes there will be a conflict which has to be resolved. So all that will be taken care by your administration level guys, because this is totally a non-admin activity. I mean, an admin activity. So that is how this is. And going back to my so now they were all user related. Security is mainly for your admin level guys. So this trust storage, SSL configuration, all this is handled by your for your server is handled by your admin guys. So you don't have to worry on this one. And then comes your cloud services. So as I mentioned earlier, this cloud services is where you will actually add in the configuration mapping between AEM and target or any third party cloud application which is linked to your AEM. So this is mostly on a very advanced level, so you don't have to dig deeper into this right now. So probably in your advanced training sessions you'll get to know on this. So all your cloud applications mapping is done over this console. So you will go into one of this console. So like one of it is your legacy cloud services. So if you have a target related or Adobe target related configuration, if you would want to add that, so that that mapping is done between your local, I mean the current server and your target. So you need to add that configuration here, just given that keynet title. Once you click on that create, you will get this particular so here is where you should enter the code and the authentication, all that mappings which will be given for that particular target level application. So I don't have anything here to show that to you, so you can probably, I mean that will come in as and when you buy the licensing version for it. So this is again deeper concept, so it's not applicable to you right now. So that is your cloud services. So any questions on your consoles?
Uh, till now, no, because
Okay.
I know little bit about CRX Daylight. But when we will start the hands-on, then
And so,
I have,
yeah,
yeah, I want to know, and we will be using that Felix console and all that, na. So I have never
yes.
used that Felix console and all that. Then I
Mhm.
maybe have questions and all.
Yeah, so let's see that time then.
Okay.
Fine. I hope you've already installed JDK 1.8 and Maven. Have you installed?
I haven't installed Maven. I was I mean uh, I'm right now
Looking for
I'm
JDK.
installing that JTK
Okay,
and
okay, fine, fine.
yeah.
Tomorrow probably I'll share that with you, and then we can actually go ahead and start with a few more topics. So yes, creating a project and deployment. Tomorrow, once you have your Maven installed, it should be pretty okay for you. So once you
Okay.
create this, Maven is what is required. JDK also is required. For this tomorrow's section, I'll be going ahead with development approach and the creation of a project, and
Okay.
then probably URL decomposition as well. So
Okay.
these three items I would like to finish tomorrow. Or probably development approach, can we do it right now if you are free?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So this is on a high level. It's mostly, I mean, it would differ from project to project, but mostly it would still remain the same. So basically, you will have a code versioning tool like your GitHub or your Bitbucket or Visual Studio or something, right? Wherein you'll be checking in your code and from there you can check out. So all that is probably one of these, or it can be something else also, depending on which project your client wants, where they want to handle the versioning.
Hmm.
So you'll be make I mean the admin guys or your project level team, whoever is handling that, will give you credentials
Access
for
to.
your accessing the repository, wherein you can check out the code. So once you check out the code in your local, you can actually, I mean, there will be a Jenkins job which will be set up by your infra team guys. That is the admin team guys. Just like whenever you commit into a develop branch as such, it will actually deploy the code into your dev environment. So you check out your code, you do all your changes, and then you push into your particular branch. And from there, you create a pull request to your develop branch. So once you create a pull request, it will be go on to the review, and post review, they will merge your custom branch into your develop branch. So once it is merged to develop branch, there is a Jenkins job which is triggered to deploy your code into your dev server. So in the dev server, you'll actually validate all your changes if it is fine or not. So once it is fine, it goes to your QA server. Once it is again passed by QA, it goes to UAT. Once it is passed by UAT, it goes to production. So post production, if you still have certain issues, I'm sure you will surely have production related bugs, right? So those issues are all fixed and in one of the hotfix branches, and then that is again tested in your QA environment and your UAT environment, and that goes to live again. So this will be your development approach on a high level, but this will change from project to project the way your leads decide to or your architects decide. So you, this will be familiarized with your project when you get into. So when you see, this is the application level picture which you can actually see. So what happens is like you're from your GitHub or when Visual Studio or your Bitbucket servers, the from that repository, there's a continuous integration into your Jenkins, or they can use any other any other integration tool to deploy the code from GitHub to your server. So it will build and then it will deploy into your author and your published environment accordingly. So as a developer, you need to author that particular component, test it if it is publish it, and then see via dispatcher. So to your publisher is where your dispatcher is linked to over here. So whenever a request is made from your browser, it goes to this particular dispatcher and goes and hits the publisher if it is not cached and renders the content. So you need to author, publish it, and test it via dispatcher only as a developer. You just cannot test it in the instance and say your unit testing is passed. That's a very wrong approach which you should never do. So once this is fine, you just then move to QA environment, and that goes ahead in future. I mean, that goes as and when how things are moving, whether it is QA or SIT environment or your UAT environment, the way they have different various environments. So you need to always follow this uh, author in author, publish it, but validate in dispatcher. You should never do it in author or your publisher directly. Okay. So that's your high level development approach, which would obviously change from project to project. So that is about it. So tomorrow let's create an EM project, and then you will need JDK and Maven. So once you have that ready, probably